Putin loses two generals in one day. Moscow is accused of covering up the death of another top commander as Ukrainian forces launch ambush and bloody fight for the Donbas. A group of independent journalists claim two generals were killed in attack. The death of Major General Roman Kutuzov was confirmed by Russian officials. However, reports later claimed Lieutenant General Roman Berdnikov also died. It has been suggested the Kremlin announced Kutuzov's death to cover up the loss of Berdnikov, who is a far more famous and important general. Russian President Vladimir Putin lost two of his most senior commanders in a single day in a devastating bridge ambush in eastern Ukraine, a group of independent journalists working on both sides of the war have claimed. Russia confirmed the death of Major General Roman Kutuzov on Sunday, but new reports on Monday said Lieutenant General Roman Berdnikov was killed on the same day in an attack carried out by Kyiv's forces. It has been suggested that the unusual speed with which Kutuzov's death was confirmed by Moscow was an attempt to cover up the loss of Berdnikov. Less than a month ago, Berdnikov was commander of the Russian Armed Forces Task Force in Syria, and he was moved to take charge of Putin's forces and those of the Donetsk People's Republic, DPR, in Donbas. If his death is confirmed, he will be the 12th general to have been killed in the war. It would mean the two of the most senior Russian commanders in Donetsk were wiped out in one strike in a stunning and embarrassing setback to Putin. The claims that both Berdnikov and Kutuzov died came from the Volya Telegram channel, which has independent war journalists working on both sides of the conflict. On the morning of June 5, Lieutenant General Roman Berdnikov, who led the Russian troops and units of the DPR from Donetsk, left with the headquarters on a working trip, said the Post. On the way, presumably on a bridge, the vehicles of the headquarters were attacked by a Ukrainian sabotage and reconnaissance group. Part of the convoy was destroyed or immobilized, but some vehicles, having received serious damage and firing back, were able to escape from the ambush and leave, the Post said. After that, our sources reported that Roman Berdnikov died in this battle, the report continued. A little later, two more sources confirmed this, specifying that other senior officers could have died during the battle. Later reports emerged that Berdnikov's second-in-command Kutuzov had died. Volya stated that it trusted its sources that both generals were killed, Kutuzov by a bridge in Donetsk region, and not at the location in Luhansk region specified in early Russian. It is logical that they both rode in the same convoy and both were ambushed, said the report. Part of the convoy was able to escape. We assume that Berdnikov was in one of the surviving cars, but died during the shelling. Those who escaped from the fire could not know the fate of those who remained on the bridge. They reported the attack and death of Berdnikov to the headquarters and that part of the convoy remained cut off and was under fire. It quickly became clear that Major General Kutuzov was among those remaining on the bridge. And as soon as the Russian military arrived at the battlefield, his body was also found. The report stated, what Russian commanders had in their hands, was, two dead generals, one of whom led an entire army grouping in Syria, until May, and then played an important role in commanding the entire grouping in eastern Ukraine. The Russian armed forces had not yet lost two generals in a day in Ukraine. It is clear that the Ukrainian saboteurs will not be silent and will tell about the successful attack. They do not know that they also managed to kill Berdnikov, because they saw the body of only Major General Kutuzov. The channel surmised that Russia loudly and publicly announced the death of Kutuzov, in an attempt to mask the loss of the much more famous and important Berdnikov. Berdnikov, who previously served in Siberia, is seen on video less than a month ago taking the salute at the 9th of May Victory Day parade at Russia's Hmeimim Air Base in Syria. He was quoted as saying, "Soldiers and officers of the Russian armed forces have been honorably defending Russia's interests in the fight against international terrorism in the Syrian Arab Republic and during the special military operation in Ukraine, worthily continuing the victorious traditions of frontline. We are worthy successors of battlefront veterans, the memories of whom were passed down through the generations. Russia has been losing generals at an alarming rate, with unconfirmed reports suggesting Western intelligence, particularly that of the United States, has been helping Ukraine target Putin's most senior military figures, and losing even 2 generals in a war would be considered extreme in most conflicts since the Second World War. If Berdnikov's death is confirmed, Putin will have seen a dozen of his generals killed. In addition, at least 49 colonels have been killed so far in the war with Ukraine. Reports of the death of the 2 generals came after Russia struck Kyiv with missiles for the first time in more than a month on Sunday. One person was reported hospitalized. Dark smoke could be seen from many miles away after the attack on 2 outlying districts. Ukraine said the strike hit a rail car repair works, while Moscow said it had destroyed tanks sent by Eastern European countries to Ukraine. Ukraine said Russia had carried out the Kyiv strike using long-range air-launched missiles fired from heavy bombers as far away as the Caspian Sea. Russia says the strikes are part of a campaign to degrade Ukraine's military infrastructure and block Western arms shipments. President Vladimir Putin warned the United States on Sunday that Russia would strike new targets if the West supplied longer-range missiles to Ukraine for use in high-precision mobile rocket systems. Britain said on Monday it would supply Ukraine with multiple launch rocket systems that can strike targets up to 80 kilometers, 50 miles, away, a move that was coordinated with the United States in response to Russia's invasion. Meanwhile, heavy fighting continues in Severodonetsk and Russian forces are pushing towards Slavyansk, which lies about 53 miles to the west, Britain's Ministry of Defense said on Monday. Both sides say they have inflicted huge casualties in Severodonetsk. In Lysychansk, Russian forces fired on a bakery and several administrative and residential buildings, Gaidai said on Monday, adding 1 civilian. Evacuations resumed from the Ukrainian-held part of Luhansk province on Sunday, and 98 people had escaped, Gaidai said. The governor of Russia's western Kursk region, Roman Starovoyt, said the border village of Tyotkino had come under fire from Ukraine on Monday morning that targeted a bridge and some businesses. There were no immediate reports of casualties. Ukraine's military reported that its forces repelled 7 attacks in the Donetsk and Luhansk regions on Sunday, destroying 4 tanks and shooting down a combat helicopter. It was not immediately possible to verify the battlefield reports.